My name is Dr. Elliott Collins, and I've been at PCC 39 years. Well, PCC happens to be just the kind of school I've always wanted to work in. Urban, a lot of minority students, low-income students, that's my background, and I thought my talents were best suited for a school such as PCC. When I came in 1979 in August, I started out in the financial aid office, doing financial aid managerial work and making sure that we enrolled the 4,000 students who were about to come in that fall in September. And PCC was rather chaotic. The administration had a shortage of staff, 4,000 students coming in, a lot had not applied for financial aid. The financial aid office had one director and about 2 technicians. And to get ready in 30 days for that number of people, and most of them had not applied for financial aid, was a major task. I became president in 1990, first for a year as acting president, and then after that I became permanent president from 1991 through officially 1996. When I became president, I wanted to tighten up on the administration of the school to make sure that we were getting maximum efficiency for the money being spent. I inherited a $1 million deficit when I came in as president, and after 1 year of service, I had a $250,000 surplus, and by the time I left in 1996, we had a $19 million surplus, which was the best in the state. The college needed to expand and have new buildings because we were overcrowded. So I developed a master plan which the Board of Trustees approved, and also I was working with the state of New Jersey, the State Board of Higher Education, to begin building a new campus here in Paterson. With that, I wanted to make sure that our students got more financial aid and more stipends, which I would raise through private corporations and businesses, so our students wouldn't have to work so much because work takes away from academic effort. So I wanted the students to spend the time working and receive a stipend instead of working. I wanted to make sure that our students had cultural exposure by going on, responsible trips throughout Passaic County, state of New Jersey, but to New York and Washington, D.C., so they could see how government works, how social institutions work, how museums work. I wanted to do all of that and enhance the learning of our students. Well, there were 2 reasons why I left. I began to have health issues. I had serious back problems, a herniated disc in my neck, which affected some of the nerves in my central nervous system. I had to have surgery. So that was a significant factor. But another factor, which I haven't really mentioned that much publicly, is there was simply too much political interference in my work coming in from freeholders, or some freeholders, and from some Board of Trustee members who simply were not sympathetic to what I was doing. They had their own agendas, and I simply could not tolerate that, plus being sick. And it was just too much, so I just quietly gave it up and decided I would go into the faculty. I guess my plans departed when I departed, because one of the things that I was working on with Chancellor Goldberg, we were working on building a new campus here in Paterson, modern buildings, $60 million worth for the arts, for the sciences, science laboratories, faculty offices, student government offices, child care centers, classrooms, learning labs. We were going to do all of that because he and I both felt that the urban students of Paterson, Passaic County in particular, did not have the same opportunities that suburban students do in their community colleges. So we wanted to rebuild Passaic County Community College. That was one plan that fell apart. And then what happened is, from what I can see, that the master plan which I developed for campus expansion, that wasn't followed either, because the first building in the official master plan to be built around the time that I was here and the time I left was a new building here in Paterson. But instead, they went to the second phase from what I can see, and they built the Wanaque campus building. That was second phase, not first phase. And also a new wing was put onto the library and to the second floor of the academic building. So I suspect that became their priorities, but those were not my priorities. The honors program was something that I had started and had organized a committee to start working on before I left office, and the foundation was being laid. But unfortunately, I left office before the planning was complete. So the honors program that we have now is not exactly the way I would have done it, but we do have an honors program, and nobody was talking about an honors program until I brought up the idea and started pushing it. Well, I decided to come back as a professor and not seek another presidency, which I could have done. But again, because my health was questionable at the time, I just felt that teaching would be, in a sense, less stressful. I did feel that I have the ability to motivate urban students, especially to males, but females, but all urban students, regardless of race, and I thought that I could get a result that most people don't get. I teach Western Civilization 1, and I teach Western Civilization 2, and also African American history. So those are the three subjects that I've been teaching for the last 20 years. We need several things. The issue of the proper relationship of the Board of Trustees to the college must be defined. The relationship of the freeholders to the college must be defined. Some people that sat on the Board of Trustees when I was here simply were not college graduates. They did not understand higher education, but yet they voted on everything from my contract to the budget to what goes on in the classroom, learning materials, etc. So that has to be addressed. We need to do more to raise more money, so the students have stipends. I'm going to go to some of the corporations, raise several $millions a year, and then give our students stipends in lieu of working. Now, a stipend is money. So they could work and go to school and study and then be able to do well in their studies. We need extensive tutoring throughout the college. We don't do enough tutoring. Very few of my students have tutoring now. And most of my students struggle with the material that I give them because they didn't have the proper background coming out of high school and they're working so much until really they get kind of a superficial treatment in my class compared to what they should be if they were in a regular four-year college program. So we need to do more of that. We need to have more social workers. We have any now because a lot of our students have home problems and social problems, psychological problems in some cases, that need to be addressed. We need professionals who can help the students adjust socially to a college environment and to life in general. These are some of the things that I would cite. Textbooks, okay, that's an area too of concern. The textbook for my classes, Western Civ 1 and 2, are too expensive. The textbook runs about $230. If a student's on financial aid, that might be sufficient to cover the cost of the book. But many students don't have financial aid and they can't afford the book. So in all of my classes, about 3/4 of my students do not have the textbook. You can't teach effectively without students having the textbook. The textbook that we have is too expensive. To pay $230 for a textbook when there are other books on the market just as good but cost far less is a shame. But the thing is, we haven't moved towards those less expensive books. We stay with one company, which I can't understand why we do that. And I would also say that students need supervised study. Some of our students study well on their own, but a lot don't. A lot don't know how to study. So you have a laboratory for biology or chemistry. We need to have learning labs for history, where when people go to the lecture, I lecture, then they have workbooks and maps and things like that that they do in the laboratory part of history, where they can see where the places are on a map that we're studying. So we need to do more laboratory kinds of things with history too. Student contact. I enjoy the student contact. I've had some spectacular successes. I've had students who become social workers, school teachers. They stop me in restaurants. I have students, who really make me feel good to know that I had a part in reshaping their lives and turning their lives around. And that's a feeling that you can't get from money. You get it from service, and that's what I'm here for. But I want to be remembered as somebody who was competent in the subject, who had an earned PhD degree from New York University, and I value learning, and I push my students for learning. I push my students for graduate school, for those who want to go. But as somebody who tried to do the right thing, I'm not here to gain political office or anything like that. I simply want to do a good job and hope that somebody will recognize that that's what I'm all about.